Well, g'day, and welcome back again to Zhaoqing. And you find us now, we are sort of between two lakes. Over to our left-hand side here, we have Seven Star Lake, and then over to our right, we have, what was it called? Bohai Lake. So we can see a group of people over there playing around, doing a bit of karaoke in the park area. But we're basically going to walk back down, we're heading back towards Paifeng Square. And as we walk through here, we're going to have a little bit of a talk. I've had a couple of people ask me about China's political system and how the political system here works, which is an interesting topic. I have sort of said I'm not going to discuss politics on this channel, which we're going to stick with. We're not actually going to get into the politics of stuff talking about this, but we are, the actual system that works here is I think, a legitimate topic of conversation. So yeah, we're just going to have a little talk about how people get elected and how things work here. So first of all, I haven't sort of gone and done research on this, not extensively. I'm going to be largely talking from my understanding of things, which I've gained through talking with locals here, watching videos of other YouTubers who do discuss political stuff. So yeah, there are a few people I do watch who talk about this stuff, but it's not a subject that I'm terribly interested in delving deeply into. I have considered starting a second channel which would be more about political stuff, but I honestly don't think I have the energy to do that and the energy to deal with such a huge topic. There's a lot of work goes into understanding what's happening. So we're basically going to walk down here. So over on our right here we have Bohai Lake. Over here we have Seven Star Lake. When we get down to the end here, we're actually going to go for a little walk through there. There's a whole lot of little cafes and stuff through there, which is a really nice, interesting little spot to go and have a little walk through. So we'll end up finishing the video around to the right past some cafes. So, politics in China, how does it work? Okay, again, just to reiterate, this is my understanding. I don't claim to have a huge amount of knowledge in this subject, but first of all, question you often hear asked, I haven't had it asked on my channel yet, but I have seen it asked many times on channels that actually do cover more political subjects. Do they have elections in China? Yes, they do. Every 4 years, every 5 years, I can't exactly remember. But yes, they do. Basically, anyone here over the 18 can enroll to vote. Voting is not compulsory, but anybody can vote. I'm sure there are exceptions. I'm sure if you have I don't know, if you have a criminal record, maybe you can't vote. I'm not sure. I'm guessing. But I would think that there are certain people who lose that privilege for misbehaving, bad behavior and stuff. So yes, you can vote. And you vote at the local level. So you elect representatives for your community. Now, the big difference between a lot of Western democracies and the system here is here in China, you don't vote on promises. You not vote. You don't run on promises. You very, very rarely hear people who are standing for election saying, "I promise to do this, I promise to do that." You basically run standing on your past performance. What have you done for your community? Which I really like. I do think I prefer that to running on promises. Most politicians in the West make these outlandish promises, and they're one person in a parliament of however many people in your country are in the parliament. And unless they have their party's backing, their promises really mean nothing. So, yeah, here they run on past performance. What have you done? How have you helped your community? How do people feel about what you have done? If you've done a good job and people like you, then you've got a good chance that they're going to elect you. If you've done sod all and you don't have any sort of standing in the community, then chances are you're not going to make it. So I admire that. I really like the idea of political candidates having to actually have a record. So after that, those elected representatives, so they may be, now I'm not sure, I'm sort of trying to dredge up memories from conversations I've had long ago with people here. But I think you elect basically your city members. So with Jiaqing, that will include Duanzhou, Dinghu, Sihui, Gaoyao, various other places around Jiaqing. Then those elected representatives will elect the next level. So, up to the provincial level. So they'll then elect their representatives to go stand for the Guangdong level sort of area. And so on and so forth. The Guangdong people then elect the national representatives. And then the national parliament elects the ultimate leader. So in the case of things at the moment, President Xi, and it all seems to work pretty well. So to say, you often hear comments, "Oh, China has no democracy," and all this stuff. That's really not quite true. Actually, it's not true at all. They just elect people differently. They have a different thing, which, okay, it's very different to America, where in America, you elect your congressmen, you elect your senators, and you elect your president. So you're actually voting for each sort of segment of the government in America, which I actually don't like. The fact that, like, at the moment we have a Democratic president in America, and yet a Congress controlled by Republicans, basically means that if the Congress proposes any rules, it's going to be Republican stuff. Biden's just going to veto it. No, we're not doing that. And the same with the other. If the president proposes any rules, the Congress is just going to go, no, we're not doing that. So, in essence, nothing gets done. And I mean, for me, it feels like, and I may be wrong on this, but it feels like there's been more time in my memory that America has had different parties controlling the different levels, the Congress, the Senate, and the presidency. So nothing ever really gets done. which I think is a bit of a problem, which is why I would prefer Australia's system, which is the leader of the country, the Prime Minister, comes from the party holding power. I do believe that allows more to get done. But then you also have a lot of comments, people saying, oh, China, the people don't get to have a say in their leadership, which they do. They elect their local members and their local members vote according to what they think their community would want, which I think is fair enough. But really, and this I think came as a bit of a surprise to a lot of Australians, when was that, 2007, 2008? We elected President Rudd and the Labor Party got rid of him, put in Julia Gillard. Then the party got rid of Gillard, went back to Rudd. Then the Liberal Party elected Tony Abbott. And then after criticising the Labor government over and over and over for what they had done to the leaders, they turned around and did exactly the same thing to Tony Abbott and then Malcolm Turnbull. So here we have a little cafe. So this is the sort of start of this little cafe area we're going to walk through. And the other thing that I sort of wanted to touch on. So Australia's system and China's system are not really that different. It's different levels. You know, China has more levels. We vote for our national representatives, so the people who go and sit in the parliament, and then they elect the leader. Here, they vote for their local stuff, the local people vote for the provincial, and then the provincial vote for the national. So there's an extra layer. But other than that, the system's very, very similar. Let's have a little skinny building here. Little Coffee and Tea. So this is 4 stories. So we've got the ground floor, second, third, and then a veranda floor up on the top. That's really cool. Okay, carrying on around here. A sign here, heavy drinker. So, yeah, there's lots of these little cafes. When we first came here, we came across a music cafe around here somewhere. It is gone now, unfortunately. He actually had a piano set up. He had a few guitars in the shop as well as other instruments. I think he had a mandolin and a banjo, a couple of Chinese instruments. I think they were just up here a little ways. Okay, so yeah, this is a great little street. If you want to come and have a coffee on a weekend and stuff. So what are we now? Tuesday afternoon. So it's very quiet at the moment. But yeah, come down here on the weekend. There's a lot of people down here. And this goes right the way around the corner. We're going to turn around. We're actually going to head back up this way. So yeah, as we were saying, the system here is actually more similar to Australia than people might like to realise. And the idea of having people actually running on past performance, again, I really like. I really appreciate that. I think that actually works very well. And what was the other thing I was going to mention was the other big criticism you hear here often is President Xi with this new rule where the leader isn't limited to 2 terms, but actually can serve as long as they want. And people saying, oh, he's made himself president for life, which again is absolute garbage. He's president for as long as the parliament, as long as the representatives want him to be leader. As long as he's doing a good job, yeah, they're going to re-elect him, keep him in there, which personally I don't have a problem with. If you've got a leader that's doing a good job, that always confused me about American politics, with the president only being allowed to serve two terms, which I always sort of, that always confused me. If you've got a president who's doing a good job, why wouldn't you want him to stay? It's very confusing. Oh, this is interesting. We look up here, this sign up here, it's Route 318. So this is a highway, goes, if my memory serves, runs from Sichuan up through to Xinjiang, which is a very popular tourist driving route here in China. A lot of people like to drive that route. It's a very busy tourist spot. So yeah, in terms of President Xi being able to stay president for more than 2 terms, I don't see an issue with it. As long as he's doing a good job, keep him in there. I'd rather have him in power for 20 years doing a good job rather than have someone else come in, serve 1 term and be absolutely terrible for Chinese society. So no, that's not an issue. So the other thing we have here is, single party state sort of stuff that people often mention. Oh, is this? Now, here we have a shop, Dr. Ben. He's a guitar repairman. But he's got a shop way over here in the east of the city. I've got to, okay, I'm going to have to send him a message later and see what this place is. Yeah, so Dr. Ben does repairs on my guitar. So I needed my guitar with a refret and just get everything reset up and made sure everything's working right. He did an absolutely bloody wonderful job for a really, really good price. He's got a great workshop, over in the east out here. Really, really good workshop. So, what were we saying? Yes, China being a one-party state. Oh, it's only the Communist Party. Again, no, there's 9 political parties in China. They are all represented in Beijing. They all have representatives in the parliament. The Communist Party just happens to be the big one at the moment. So, any government institution, when you reach a certain sort of level in the government, you have to become a member of a party, not the Communist Party. You must become a member of a political party to be able to continue climbing the corporate ladder as such, although in this case the government ladder. So our school, we have school leaders from a number of parties. I don't know if we have school leaders from all of the parties, but we certainly do have at least 4 or 5 different parties represented. So just turning around here as we look down, so we've just come through this little gate here. So all of these little communities are gated, so anyone on bikes, on foot can get through, but they do limit cars. Only people who are living in that area can take cars in because they are very old communities. A lot of them were built long before cars were a thing, and so they're sort of lacking in room quite a lot. There's not a whole lot of space there. So yeah, they do limit who can go in there in vehicles. So yeah, back to political stuff. So yes, they have 9 political parties. As you climb the corporate ladder in government, you must become a party member, which I'm not sure how I feel about that. I haven't spoken to people and found out, okay, why is this? Why do you have to become a member of a party to continue climbing the corporate ladder? There may well be good reason for it. I just don't know that reason yet. So I'm not really going to comment too much on that. I will have to find out because it is an interesting question. There may, there's, well, being China, there's probably a very good reason for it, but I'm not sure what that reason is. And the other aspect of getting into politics in China, which is really good, I really like, is to get into politics. You actually go back to school. When you become or maybe even before, maybe if you're planning on standing for election, you have to actually undertake some political courses. So you go and you actually learn some stuff. Then as you go up to the next level, before you can advance to the next, up to provincial level, you have to go and study more. So you actually have to go and do courses on how to represent your community. So it might be stuff like how to secure funding for special projects. It might be how to organize meetings with your local community, how to structure meetings, how to communicate with people effectively. It might be things about what are the rules and regulations. If you're a community representative and you're an elected representative, what are your rules? What are the rules you have to live by? How do you have to conduct yourself? All things like that. They probably do courses dealing with media studies. How do you communicate with the media? So yeah, and then as you get higher and to higher levels of government, you actually have to have knowledge of how the government works. What are your rules? What are your regulations? How do you deal with people? How do you be an effective representative for the community? Which, again, I love that idea. There's been so many politicians I've seen come through, well, the Australian political system for one, but also, you see some of the politicians they have in America, in Britain. They're probably the only sort of 3 countries that I know the politicians about. We don't sort of hear much news about German politicians or French politicians. The big 3 in Australia is Australian politicians, American and British. We get a lot of their news. So yeah, a lot of these people who get elected really have no idea what they're doing and how to actually fact check things that they learn about. So yeah, I do like the idea of politicians actually having to sit down and learn how to do things. There's actually a lady who owns a bar around in the bar street that I used to go and play at quite regularly. Her bar's closed at the moment, but she works for the local government in something to do with planning, town planning stuff. I can't remember exactly. I haven't seen her since before COVID. The bar sort of closed during COVID and haven't caught up with her since then. But she was actually going through these sort of lower level courses, learning about all of this government stuff. And I don't know whether she was doing that because she was planning on running for an elected position, or if it was just to do with her job. But she was doing a lot of the same sort of courses that local people, the people who wanted to become elected were doing. So, look at this dog up here. Beautiful looking thing. Nice. So we're in this park now. So we've still got Star Lake off on our left. And then we've come down, we're beyond Bohai Lake now. We're in a different lake. I'm not actually sure what this one's called. We have this lovely pagoda sitting out over the water. It's a beautiful place to sit. Big grassed areas up here for people to come and sit in. Where she came and did and then we have these statues here of kids climbing up the various rocks. They're really cool. Where she came and had I can't remember if it was a Christmas party or a New Year's party or something with all the English teachers are here, sat up on the grass here, and they all brought all their kids and stuff. We had a really good time. And next to us, so we were set up over here next to the plants over here, and next to us was another party set up, which was, it must have been about 35, 40 kids. And it was twin sisters having a birthday. And yeah, I'd bought some juggling gear for the sort of English teachers' children. And ended up attracting all these other kids over as well. It was really cool. We had a great day. So yeah, as I was saying, the back to the political stuff. We're going to walk across the grass here, get back up to the roadway, because we're heading towards the shopping centre to go and buy dinner. So yeah, the political system here is very structured. In here we have basketball courts, basketball being very, very popular here in China. And then, so yeah, you can't just decide to run for politics here like you can in Australia, which I know some people are going to say, oh, well, that's discrimination and rah-de-rah, whatever. But no, if you're going to be running your country, running your community, I don't have a problem with you being required to actually have some practical knowledge in how to run a community, how to be effective at running a community, because it's one thing to run in a community, but it's another entirely to actually effectively run that community. So yeah, that's a sort of bit of an outline on the political system here and how things work. So what are my opinions on it? Sort of coming from Australia, okay, when I came here, I had a lot of assumptions. That, things that I'd heard in the media, various places, which I never truly trusted. I'm not a big fan of Western media, but when you have the same things pumped down your throat day after day after day, some of it seeps in. And while I didn't believe it all, absolutely, there were certain things that I expected when I got here, and it's just not that way at all. So yeah, it's overall, I think the system here works very, very well. I'm sure there's problems. I know when President Xi took power, one of the first big things he did was weed out corruption. There was apparently a lot of corruption involved in government stuff. And a lot of people are now doing jail time. for huge levels of corruption. But the other big advantage, and this is huge, the other huge advantage to the system they have here, when you look at, let's head down the steps here. We're going to head down to the pathway along the lake here. When you look at what people do here, what the government does, a lot of what the government has done here would be impossible to do in somewhere like Australia or like America or Britain or anywhere else that has regular elections with party changes. So what do I mean by that? Having a stable party in power has allowed China to make long-term plans. Now, sure, having one power in party long-term, I'm sure there's negatives to that. To be honest, I'm yet to see many of them. Most of the sort of negative things that you hear said about life here in China, the government system here, most of the things you hear said in the West are absolute crap, to be quite blunt. It's just not true. But what does it? What are the positives? Okay, long-term planning. So things like the poverty alleviation process here in China, where they've pulled, I don't even remember the numbers, I think it's like 800 million people out of poverty in the last, 10 years, is astonishing. The high-speed rail system, when did they lay their first high-speed rail was, I think, from memory, 2005. I may be wrong on that, you'd have to check. So from 2005 until today, so what's that, 18 years, they've put down 40,000 plus kilometres of high-speed rail, which is just astonishing. Just over to our right here, we have a lot of bars, cafes, restaurants, this sort of thing. I've played in a couple of these bars. Really nice, bit expensive, but I think that's a lot to do with the price of real estate here being right over the road from the lake. They are pricey, but they do a good job. Here they can make plans that a lot of other countries can't make those plans. So if we look at Australia, I've heard talk of them doing high-speed rail in Australia from sort of Melbourne up to Sydney, up to Brisbane. That East Coast corridor. I've heard talk of that for as long as I can remember, since I was a kid. Probably 40 years plus they've been talking about it. And a government will start an investigation and start looking at plans and possibilities. Then we have an election, another government comes in, it's a change of government, and that's all scrapped. We're going to do it our way. So it's very, very difficult for a government like we have in Australia to be able to make those long-term plans and long-term commitments. Having a sort of stable system like they do here is amazingly effective in many ways. The other thing I would mention is the government owns a lot of the infrastructure here. So when you look at the high-speed rail, it is government owned. So they've put in 40,000 plus kilometres of high-speed rail. Now, not all of those lines are profitable. In fact, a lot of them are not profitable. So currently, Yunfu, where she went through one of the videos I did recently, the latest video I did from Yunfu, where she had a bit of a look in there. We sort of drove past where they're building the high-speed rail through Sing Sing. And so that line will probably not turn a profit. They'll probably lose money on that line. But because it's all owned by the government, they subsidise that line with the lines that do make a profit. So Guangzhou to Shenzhen, Shanghai to Beijing, you know, those big profit-making lines subsidise those who don't make that profit, which is a very, very good way to do it, I think. I like that idea, rather than privatising. So, you know, in Australia, the last 20, 25 years, we've basically privatised everything. So banks, water systems, telephone, gas, electricity, everything's been privatised. The government now has no control over any of these systems, whereas in China, the government does control. So you have private telephone companies here, but they have to compete with the government telephone companies, so they can't overcharge, or they're just not going to go anywhere. I was very unhappy with the idea of Australia selling off its assets to make a quick buck. I do believe it did screw over the people, and having these private businesses not only helps keep prices level, but also keeps other companies honest. If you don't provide a good service, people are just going to go to the government service and screw you. So the government controls a lot of this stuff. A lot of it's done for a good reason. You may not agree with the reasons. If you don't agree, hit us up in the comments. Tell me why you don't agree, because it's always interesting to hear different aspects of different points of view on things. If you do make comments, please keep them respectful. If people disagree with you, if you make a comment, someone else makes a comment disagreeing with you, don't get upset. Try and keep your comments respectful. And that is a lot of the reason why I'm not actually getting into politics full on this channel, because I'm not interested in those other things that you see, comments that you see on other people's channels. Trying to avoid that. We may earn ourselves a few negative comments on this video, but so be it. So that's about all we're going to talk about. So just as a quick wrap up, so the political system here, you vote for your local representatives. Once you're elected, or before you're elected, I'm not entirely sure, you actually have to go and learn about governing. You actually have to go and study and get a certificate, and so that you can justify you being there. You can show that you do know what to do and how to do and all that. Democracy, it's just a different form of democracy. And government control, well, at the moment, I find most of the control here being done very well. And if the government, there's 1.4 billion people here. If the government weren't doing a good job, if they were screwing over the people would revolt. So it can't be all bad. yeah, if you want to learn more about this sort of stuff, I might, I'll contact some of these other YouTubers, see if it's okay with them if I link their channels either in the description of this video or I'll pin a comment linking a few different channels that discuss this stuff very well. Yeah, so I'll endeavor to do that for you, and go and watch some of their videos, because they know a lot more than me. I don't pay a whole lot of attention to any sort of political stuff, but the actual system here I did find interesting. So yeah, if you found that interesting, hit that like button, subscribe if you want to learn more about life in China. This will probably be the only time we talk anything close to politics here. So from here we'll get back to life in general here. Yeah, share the video with friends, family, anyone who you think might like to learn a little bit more about life here. And comments, if you got comments, if you got videos that you'd like to see, things about life here that you'd like to learn about, if you've got things that you've heard about China and you'd like clarification, hit us up in the comments. Pretty much any subject that people want to talk about, I'll make a video about, and try and help you understand life here, see life here for what it really is. So we are now just heading back to Pai Phong Square. So we have the little children's playground area here on our right, have the restaurant in here, which I have played in a few times, on the right here, and we'll head up the stairs here, and from here we are into Pai Phong Square, and we can see we've got a lot of these lanterns hanging from the trees here now. The Spring Festival coming up. I can see they've put up a lot more lanterns across the other side there. Wow, there's a whole lot of them up around Pai Phong Gate. So yeah, once Spring Festival gets going, I don't know that I'm going to be here to make videos. I am heading to Yun Fu very, very soon. So we'll have videos coming from there. They've got a heap of stuff lined up in Yun Fu that we're going to go and spend Spring Festival at. And so yeah, we'll have videos coming from there. So yeah, like I say, hit us up in the comments, anything you want to know. And thanks for watching. If you made it this far, well done. It's a conversation, the political system here that could go on for a lot longer. We've done, nearly 45 minutes, and you could talk for a hell of a lot longer about the whole system here, but I think I've covered it pretty well. If I've got anything wrong, if there's Chinese people watching who disagree, or if you know something that I have got wrong, let me know and we'll make a correction video. Because like I say, the political system here, I have been talking off of what I understand. It's not necessarily all 100% accurate, but I do think I've got fairly close. So thanks for watching, everybody. Stay safe. Yeah, happy Chinese New Year to everybody. Happy Spring Festival. And we'll see you in the next one. Take care.